Hi, welcome back to Paige Gross Design. I am very excited I'm looking forward to gathering with close friends and getting to have a meal together. And this is something that I like to do all the time, but last year nobody came over to my house. And the project that I'm sharing with you today is actually something that I had ready for last year, but because of the pandemic, I knew that nobody was going to be getting together and gathering with their friends, and so I held off blogging about it until this year. It was actually inspired by friendship pins, and if you're not as old as I am and you don't know what friendship pins are, if you Google it, you'll get an image that looks like this. It was a project from the 1980s, and they're safety pins beaded with seed beads. And a lot of times people just hung them from another large safety pin and wore them as a, just like a little pin, a lapel pin. And my mother was a very out-of-the-box thinker. And so in the 1980s, when she discovered friendship pins, she didn't want to just put them on a safety pin and hang them on her lapel or hang them on my lapel. She did an entire bundle of them and stitched them with the button stitch on the sewing machine. Stitched them from this end to a white sweatshirt, and it hung off of it all over the entire sweatshirt. There were hundreds of them, and it hung like fringe, and it was fabulous. Wore it for years, like years, till finally the sweatshirt wore out, and I didn't want all that work that she put into beading the friendship pins to go to waste. I took them all off, cut them all off, put them in a container, and at some point in the 2000s, early 2000s, I decided to make napkin rings out of them. And didn't change anything to do with the pin. I just layered them so that they were opposite. Head in this direction, opposite the whole way through. And that way they lay evenly and straight. Put a wire through that portion of the pin and that portion of the pin. Start with, make sure that they are all the same size, and you're just going to bead the seed beads on. Let's see here. And I think it's easiest to just put all the seed beads in a container like this. You try to pour them out and do them singly, you'll drive yourself mad. And you'll need 52 friendship pins for each napkin ring. Simple, and you'll want 2 pieces of bead wire 8 inches long for each one. And I use 20 gauge bead wire. Cut 8 inches long. Now you can do it a couple different ways. You'll need something to stop the pins from falling off the end. And I bead both wires in the safety pin at the same time, instead of beading all one side and then the other, because what I found is I would miss a pin accidentally and then have to take them all apart. And so I started beading them each pin both sides at the same time. I started out doing them like this and putting a large bead at the end and just turning over the wire, but I got smarter and I had a piece of styrofoam out in the garage. Came in very handy. Stuck that down into the styrofoam, and you'll make sure that your seed beads are always on the very same side. Let it go clear down to the bottom. So the clasp end here, now we put the clasp end on the other side. And I didn't pay any particular attention to how I put them on the pin, how I put the seed beads on. Some of them I put all the same color, some of them I did randomly. As you can see, very random, still wonderful. If you wanted to be methodical about it and create a color scheme, like a chevron pattern, that would be very cool. But eventually, you'll get all 52 of them onto your wires. And from there, have one all ready to go. This was the first method that I used. You'll need a pair of needle nose pliers. And just pull it together. Join it as closely as you possibly can. Twist with your fingers. Just watch that you don't pull out your wire by accident. And you'll want to twist this to the inside of the napkin ring. So you're going to tuck it down in so it's hidden inside the width of the safety pin. Otherwise, you stand the chance of snagging your napkins. And these actually turned out a little bit smaller. I initially used 60 for this and thought that these were a little wider and measured out 52, but I actually think it's just slightly too small, but I'll show you how to finish it off. You're gonna twist that, trim off down to just the smallest bit. Fold that back in. Again, bring that to the inside. Twist it as tightly as possible. Bring that together. Trim off the excess and fold it back in between those safety pins. There you go. And it is much smaller, so definitely double check, because everybody's safety pins are going to be slightly different. This larger one only ended up using 20, and because the beads are thicker, I had to put, you can see that blue bead, I had to put a bead in between each one so that it would separate and be straight. So, hope you enjoy the project. Seed beads, you don't need very many. They come in like really small vials, and you probably only need a couple. You do not need a container this large. And I really hope you get together with your friends this summer and are safe and get to enjoy your friends and family. I'm looking forward to it. I'm sure you are too. Come back and join me again. Thanks.